Welcome to Crochet the Beginning, Part 10. I cannot believe I've actually done 10 of these so far. This week is a little bit awkward because we're doing this with JR actually home because he decided to have emergency gallbladder removal, which hopefully that puts an end to all of his being sick and all that. So hopefully. So he's off of work for 2 weeks, which means that I need to have plans. So as you can tell down underneath, whoa, I got to remember not to hit the table. Um, it looks different, and that's because this is actually my computer desk upstairs. I usually record downstairs in my studio. Well, he's home. I need to monitor him and make sure he's okay per the doctor's orders, not mine. So that means I need to stay upstairs. I'm a worrywart. That's just me. So I am upstairs for the next 2 weeks recording, and that's why he came through surgery just fine. He's handling pain and everything just fine. He's actually being able to keep all of his foods down, which after 2 years is amazing. But moving on to the crochet stuff. So, as you know, last week we did the cluster stitch, which I told you would be used in the upcoming crochet along bag. Well, I am happy to announce the prototype is done. I just need to put the finishing touches on the pattern writing and take the images. So, and then once that's done, then I will start uploading those. And as I mentioned before, this crochet along, I will sit here and go with you step by step in videos and in written patterns. So you will have everything. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Yes, I'm hiding my iPad under here because what we're working on today is on the screen. So I was trying to figure out what to do this week. And I was thinking, went through, looked at different stitches. I'm like, okay, and kept looking and looking and didn't really see any I liked. But then I hit upon the idea of, well, we just did granny squares. Maybe you all would like to know how to do a granny square back and forth instead of in a round. Yeah, I'm playing shadow puppets on the paper. Sorry about that. So I decided, well, let's go ahead and teach you how to do a granny square, granny stripe. Now, if you look at this, I lost my pen. There it is. If you look at this, it has the same basic design stitches as your granny squares do, except this one is worked back and forth. This is a what crafters tend to say a mindless project because you don't change anything. You do the same thing each time. This is also a very quick pattern. Um, I have never made a blanket out of this stitch, but I have seen several that have, and they are very pretty. And you can change the colors in this. You can make every row a different color. You can basically, the end result is only limited by your creativity. So we're going to learn how to do this. I made a simple swatch, and the way to count the rows on this one is sort of like how you do when you're working in the round. You count them by going up. You can also go diagonal like you do in your granny squares. Same thing. So this is a 8-row swatch with a 6-row patterned repeats. So the way you count it is you have your first row right down here, which in this case is all single crochets. We all know how to do that already. Then I started in doing the granny square stitches. And then I finished mine with another row of single crochets up here at the very top. So That tells you that there are 2 rows that I have done out of pattern, and then the other 6 rows are done in pattern. So to count them is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can also do it diagonally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Shall we make this pattern? Apparently, I forgot to get my yarn. And yes, I'm using different colored yarns. I'm pretty sure you all are tired of the blue and yellow. This time I am using just the classic sugar and cream supersized cotton. And yeah, this orange is not supposed to be there. My husband spilled my um, drink on my bag of yarn. He's still being reprimanded for that. You should see this look I'm getting from my husband right now. It's wild in this house. Okay, so let's have a see on how to do this pattern. As you can see, I have our normal get up on the pattern. This is called just the granny stripe, nothing major. So let's look at the materials that you will need. Pretty simple. You can make this with any yarn. It doesn't matter if it's sock yarn, lace weight, DK weight, sport weight, bulky, super bulky, Aran, worsted weight, anything. I also recommend that you use the recommended hook size to go with your yarn. Whoop, keep forgetting my pen works. To go with your yarn. Okay. So I would not sit here and do a worsted weight yarn with a D hook. That would be a way too small of a hook for the yarn. On every label, you'll have something that'll sit here. It'll look like this. Let's see, come on. There we go. And you see right here, it sits here and tells you that a USH right there is the yarn, the size hook that they recommend for this. And by seeing this 4 right here, that tells you that is a worsted weight yarn. There's also the knitting needle sizes. This also gives you a gauge swatch if that is what they say you can get using this hook. I don't listen to that gauge swatch because, again, I crochet very, very tightly. I don't crochet loosely. So according to this, if you can see it, come on, focus, phone. Okay, you'll see it says 5 millimeter or USH. Yeah. Come on, focus. Come on, focus, focus. There we go. So it calls for a USH hook. Okay, well, little me has a, there we go. Come on. You can do it, phone. Okay. This hook is a 5.0 millimeter H or 8. Okay. Nothing major. That goes with the yarn that I'm using. So let's scooch that back over here. You will also need a pair of scissors. Again, honestly, I'll be perfectly blunt with you. I don't buy yarn scissors. Um, right about now, when they have the back to school supplies going on, like at Walmart or something, I just get the blunt tipped kid scissors that you get the kids for school. I will admit that I don't usually get them until towards the end or at the very beginning, and I never take any of them if there's not a lot there because I don't want to take scissors away from the children, which is probably just a little crazy, but that's me. You will need the scissors though. You got to cut it somehow. I mean, I don't recommend pulling it. I don't recommend pulling and cutting your yarn or pulling it apart or pulling, you can do it, but it's not exactly comfortable. Okay, you also need a blunt needle. Now, again, nothing has to be done expensive. They can be the plastic yarn needles for children. You don't have to have metal ones, you don't have to have fancy ones. But basically, what you're looking for is just a blunt tip. I like the ones that have a little bit of curve at the end. I mean, it's easier. You also need to make sure it has a there, there, uh, there, a nice big hole in the top. Makes it easier for you to get the yarn through when you're weaving in your ends. Okay, so that is your materials. That's it. 4 things. And honestly, I bet you have all 4 things already if you've been working with me, because all of the things that I have done up until now have been done with an H hook, I believe. Or at least that's the size that I have recommended you get. So next up is the gauge. Okay, this is one of those stitch patterns, and I just hit my camera again. Forgive me, let me get used to where my tripod and all that is on this one. This one, there is no gauge required for this stitch. You can use, like I said, you can use any yarn, anything. There's no gauge needed. Okay, your pattern rating. Remember, this is where most designers or patterns will sit here and tell you how difficult it is. Okay? Some patterns will tell you that a 5 is the hardest of all, and others will sit here and tell you that 1 is the hardest. I've put 5 here because the way I've always done it, the more spots it has, the easier it is. I may wind up changing that to be more like what other designers do, but right now this pattern is simple. There is no difficulties involved in this. Okay, so next is the legend, or as you know, I call it the list of abbreviations. Okay, so in this project, you need to know how to do a chain stitch, a single, again, a single crochet, a double crochet. You need to know what REP, that means repeating. You need to know what a slip stitch is. And you need to know spaces. Okay, so CH means chains, SC means single crochet, DC means double crochet, REP meaning repeat or repeating, ST means a slip stitch, SP means space or spaces. You've seen all these before. And the reason I know that is the simple matter of the other patterns that I have released to you and we have gone over, we have used all these same abbreviations. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, now, if you see a little black head start sticking itself into here, just realize it's Onyx coming to see what's going on. The little honor thing has gotten big and thinks that she knows what to do. Okay, so I want you to make a slip knot. Okay, just a plain ordinary slip knot. So it says here in our pattern, says to start, chain a multiple of 3 plus 2 extra stitches. So what I mean by that is you begin a chain that is a multiple of 3. Okay, then when you have a multiple of 3, then you add 2 more stitches to it. So for example, 6 is a multiple of 3. Okay, because 3 times 2 makes 6. So if you wanted a very small swatch, which in this case we're not doing, you would chain the 6, but then you would add 2 more. So in all total, you would chain 8 because 8 is 2 more from 6. And again, I am not meaning to make it sound like I don't think you know what you're thinking. This messed me up when I first started reading patterns. Okay? I really wish somebody had taken the time to explain that it was a multiple of a number plus just that short extra stitch, number of stitches. Because when I had some patterns, I'm like, okay, they want a multiple of this. Okay, that's fine. But what else am I doing? And you know me, I do my best to make these patterns easy enough that even anyone can follow them. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a multiple of this one was 23 stitches to start out. I don't think I need to make that big of a pattern for you all right now. So we're going to start out with 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. There's 15 stitches. That's a multiple of 3 as it says up here. But now I need to add the plus 2 extra stitches. So 16 and 17. Okay. So we got the starting part done. Again, this is a simple pattern. It basically just takes up one sheet of paper. Once you knock out the first 2 rows, basically it is just a repeat of rows 3 and 4 over and over and over and over until you're done. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing. So it's row 2. It sits here and tells you chain 2, 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, so we're now at row 1 because I don't ever count this. Okay, we're at row 1 right now. And yes, there was a pause because I realized I had made a mistake. And instead of redoing the entire video, I just paused it and then picked back up where I'm at. So we just chained 18 chains. And now we're ready to start row 1 here. And it apparently, see, this is my problem child. My husband is supposed to be looking after my problem child, but my husband is failing at his job. So now we're ready to start row 1 here. And it sits here and simply says SC in the second chain from the hook, then SC in every stitch across. Remember what I said. All you have to do is plug in the abbreviations from the legend to this. So basically what I'm sitting here telling you to do, since we know SC means single crochet, tells you to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, then single crochet in every stitch across. I may flip over to using the knitting needle. So that's simple. All you have to do is see there's the one stitch right there. This is the second one. So as always, this first row is always tight. So single crochet, and now single crochet in every stitch until you meet over here. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you hear words or anything in the background, my JR is listening and watching his one of his best friends play a video game. So he is being very quiet and being really good, but every now and then he is going to talk. There's not much I can do about it. And my problem child is back again. I have discovered that Onyx likes to watch TV. And so her favorite thing to do is to come up on my computer desk and watch my mouse move. And I think the next time if I uh, record up here again, I'm going to have to put, as we call it in this house, cat TV on her. We have an old Fire tablet that we play YouTube cat TV on. You know, it has birds and squirrels and things like that on it. She's absolutely enthralled with it. So, coming along to the end of just making simple single crochets, if you're curious what they're watching, his friend is playing Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy, one of those. Okay, so the round one was single crochet in the second chain from the hook, then single crochet in every stitch across. We just did that. Okay, so let's move on here to row 2. Chain 2, 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Skip 2. Let I forgot. I'm sorry. Let's work on that part too first. Chain 2, 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Okay. So chain 2, 1, 2, turn your work. Okay, now it sits here and says in the same stitch. That's right here. Okay, that little hole right there. So 1 double crochet. I mean, there we go. Okay, so now it looks a little bit like that. That's what it should look like right now. Okay, and then it sits here and tells you you have this asterisk here. Remember, I told you that anytime you come up against an asterisk, that usually means that the pattern is going to want you to do a repeat of something. No different here. So it says skip 2 single crochets, then 3 double crochets in the next stitch. That's the other side of the asterisk. So that tells you, okay, so this little section here is something that I'm going to repeat. And we do. It sits here and tells you to repeat to the end of the row. Okay? So skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we do 3 double crochets in the next stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3. Okay. So it tells you to repeat it till the end of the row. Okay. No problem. 2 more stitches skipped. 1, 2, 3 double crochets in this next chain. Okay. So skip 2, 1, 2, 3 double crochets in the next stitch. 1. Ah, it's rolling on me. 2 and 3. Skip 2, 1, 2. 3 more double crochets. Okay, now I am technically at the last row because if you notice it sits here and says 2 double crochets in the last single crochet of the row. Okay, well, if I skip 2, that's going to be this little stitch right here. Okay, so that tells me I'm at the end of the row. Okay, so we're doing 2 double crochets in this last stitch. Now, I will be perfectly blunt and tell you that these last stitch sometimes can be a little bit of a doozy to get your hook through, but make sure you get through both loops, okay? get that whole V stitch in one thing. Okay, so 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Okay, so now you can see here, we've already got the starting of a granny stripe. Okay, that looks very much like a normal granny square stitch. Okay, so now we're done with row 2. So let's scoot up here to row 3. Okay, so it sits here and says chain 2, 3 double crochet in the nearest space between 3 double crochet cluster. Okay, so chain 2, 1, 2, and naturally turn your work because we're going back and forth. Okay, now if you look at this, there are holes just like there is in a granny square, normal granny square. There's holes. When I'm sitting here telling you to 3 double crochet in the nearest space between 3 double crochet clusters, I am meaning this little spot right there. Okay, so 3 double crochets in there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now it should look like this. You should have a little hole space right there, and then 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so next you come up to that asterisk again, so we know there's going to be a repeat. 3 double crochet in each space between cluster. Another asterisk. Repeat until the end of the row. Okay, so the next space in between clusters is right here. So 3 more double crochets in it. 2, 3. And then repeat that all over again in the next hole, which is right here. So 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And then repeat it again because there's still 2 more holes. See? So 1, 2, 3. And then one last time for the last hole. If you're making a swatch like this, if you've decided to make more, you'll have more holes. If you did a swatch, if you did a starting chain of fewer, you'll have less holes. Okay, well, I do apologize for that. I just kind of left you there in a lurch. My desk decided to try to fall down. So I believe, according to where my hook is, we're still on row 3, and I'm on the last 3 double crochet repeat. So 3 more double crochet. 1. Oh, no, I'm always that. So that was the last third one. Okay, and then it sits here and says here, repeat to the end of the row. Okay, I have no more holes to put double crochets in. So that tells you I'm at the end of the row. So then it says 2 double crochets in the last stitch, the top stitch of the last turning chain. And now you're going to listen to bird streaming because JR is trying to get Onyx to pay attention to her TV instead of my computer. Again, like I said, this man spoils me. Okay, so it says 2 double crochet in the last stitch, which would have been turning stitch, which is this one. I'm going to point this out maybe just a little bit easier. Where did that little knitting needle go? Yes, this is just a simple double point needle. Okay, it's right here. Mine, as normal, are very, very tight. Excuse me. But it's right there. Okay. Like I said, mine's very, very tight. So it's right there. See? And we're double crocheting in it, which I just completely forgot. So, and there's the 2 stitches. Excuse me. That I always try to remind you to make sure you use and grab. And everyone, thanks to JR, we've got Onyx is watching her own TV. So we're going to put 2 double crochets in the same little spot. So 1 and 2. Okay. So now your thing should look like this. Okay. Now I will be first to advise you if you did not make your starting chain loose enough, it's not going to stretch. So you may have some flaring out on the sides like I do. This can be fixed in blocking most of the time. Or if you're like me, and if I was actually going to make this into a blanket, I actually would have made my starting chain with like a J hook or a K hook a couple sizes bigger, just so I can have that little extra added little stretch. Okay. So now that's the end of row. Sorry about that. That's the end of row 3. Okay, so let's scooch on down here. And now we're at row 4. There's only technically one more row to this. It's a simple pattern. So it says chain 2, 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, chain 2, 1, 2, and then double, and of course turn because we're going back the other way now, and double crochet in the same stitch. So that's right there, and double crochet. Okay, we have that asterisk again. As we know, that means we're repeating something. So 3 double crochet in each space between the clusters. There's your end of your repeat right there because that's another asterisk. Repeat to the end of the row. Okay. I don't think I need to sit here. It's basically now it's the same row as we did last time. Like I said, this is what most crafters consider a mindless project because once you get the hang of it, you don't really have to think. It's a good TV project. Okay. Make this while you are watching TV, watching a movie, um, so on and so forth. Well, I just did a half double crochet. That's not what I wanted. So take that back out, down to double. So as we continue this across, now I don't want to sit here and tell you that you can only do this with double crochets because that's not the case. You can do this with half double crochets, single crochets, triple crochets, everything. Okay, as long as it's this normal stitch, it's not like a cluster stitch or a popcorn or a trinity stitch or anything like that. As long as it's a normal stitch, you can do a granny stripe. Okay, I will admit most of the ones that you see are double crochets. Okay, they are not halves or singles or whatnot. It's just, I don't know. I guess you might say tradition. But you will find ones that are half double crochets, single crochets, some triples, so on and so forth. I even imagine you could probably even do, like the first row in like single crochets, the first row of this instead of doubles, like single crochets, then this next one could have been half double crochets, then this one could have been doubles. I've never done it, but I think you could. Like I said, most of the time, the only thing that you are blocked by is your own creativity. Okay, so we are at the end of the row here because I have no more holes to put in. Okay, now it says 2 double crochets in the last stitch of the row. Sounds familiar, right? We just did that. Okay, here's a little hack that I use. And honestly, I can't tell the difference in a finished project. This is how I do it. Technically, yes, you are supposed to go in this stitch right here. That is your actual turning chain. But those little boogers are difficult to get into. So what I normally do is I just go into that space right there. I don't even worry with finding that chain on after the first row, and 2 double crochets. There's my thread, 2 double crochets. Okay, now, as you can tell, I got a little bit of a bump here. That's because I boo-booed. There's not supposed to be 2 double crochets on this side. I accidentally put one in. So I'm not going to go and fix it because this swatch is going to get yanked right back out. So that's all you do. Okay. Now, if we look here at the pattern, it sits here and tells you right here, we just finished row 1. Now it sits here and tells you repeat rows 3 and 4 until desired size. Okay. So that means if you were making this into a blanket, you would make the rows 1 through 4. Okay. Then, because I'm pretty sure you're not only going to want a 4-row blanket or scarf or whichever design you choose, whatever project you're designing or doing. And all you have to do is then, once you get finished with row 4, if you are not at the desired size that you want, turn yourself around and go right back up to row 3. Work row 3 in its entirety, and then work row 4 in its entirety. If you're still not at the desired size, repeat it again. Okay? Excuse me for just a second. The alarm is going off. Don't you hear? I apologize. Okay. Once you have rows 3 and 4 and you have the desired length that you want, desired size that you want, excuse me one more second. All you need to do is turn the timer off. Okay, you do not have to stop on a row 4 or row 3. You need to stop on one of them. So if you get 3 and you're repeat and you're in the last stitch in row 3 and you're at the exact size that you want and you don't really want to do anymore, then skip over here to row 5. Okay? No biggie. No change. You don't have to stop it at row. Like I said, you don't have to stop at row 4. You can stop at row 3. It's your choice. But this is your final row that you need to do. Apparently, my floors upstairs are not as steady as the ones downstairs, so when somebody walks across them, the camera moves. It's okay. It's only 2 weeks. Then we'll go back downstairs. Okay, so this last row here sits here and tells you single crochet in each stitch across, which is a mistake. I'll have to fix it. Don't worry. I'll tell you here how to do it, and the pattern that will be down below in the description will be correct, and I will go back through and up here and put in all the turns and and the other spaces at the end of the thing. I apologize. Again, it has been a very hectic week. I apologize, but the final paper that you will download will be correct. So, to do the very last row, because I'm going to give my blanket or my project or whatever I'm doing the same treatment as I did the very beginning here of a row of single crochets. Okay, so we're at that point, and again, forget this little bump because I added a stitch that's not supposed to be there. So chain one, because you only need a chain one for a single crochet. Turn your work, skip that first single crochet, stitch because you've got it right there, and then single crochet in each stitch across. Okay. Just simple single crochet. All this is doing is giving, in my opinion, a more finished look to your granny stripe. Okay. That's basically all this is doing. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't have to do it. Okay. You don't even have to do it at the bottom. Okay. You can just start right off doing your 3 double crochets and the chain and your starting chain. Personally, I don't like that, but that is my personal preference. Okay. That's it. So every stitch across, do 1 single crochet. Okay. And the final stitch, or AKA the stitch that's not supposed to be there, single crochet. Okay. So now all you do is cut it off. Let me get rid of this because we're through with the pattern. Is cut off your yarn and then pull out your loop and you're done. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this was an 8-row repeat. So let's go over this really quick because I am already at 42 minutes and that is longer than I usually try to go with you guys. First row here is single crochet. This will be row 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. I ended on 3 here because I had the width that I felt showed you the pattern. And then I did a row of single crochet at the top. Pulled out my loop, and right there's my tail. Okay. This is a granny stripe. Once again, the only limit to this is your creativity, not mine, yours. You can do every single row, excuse me, in a different color. You could do an ombre effect or a gradient effect with the rows. It's your choice. So that is what we're doing. Next week, we probably will not start the crochet along, but I will probably go over what it looks like, what materials you will need, and things like that. Excuse me, I am so sorry. All the materials that you will need for the crochet along. This stitch is not going to be in it. This is a freebie. Not necessarily a freebie, but this is just a stitch that I think you might find useful in your own design work. So I also have a quick note on the side. I have been doing TikTok 10-minute craft with me videos. And well, lately, as along with a whole bunch of other people are moving away from TikTok. Well, so I was thinking I would do the same and do Facebook Reels or YouTube Shorts. The problem is I usually do 10 minutes of them, 10 minutes, and that's the length. So I got to thinking, why don't I just do the same thing, but add it on YouTube? In these, we wind on the craft with me. All it is basically just me working on a project that I'm working on. It can be crochet, knitting. Those are the two main ones I do, but I may throw in a counter cross stitch if I feel the desire to do it, so on and so forth. And during this, I talk to you, kind of like what I'm doing right now. And we may discuss a book, we may discuss a TV series, a movie, just whatever I honestly am thinking about. And at the same time, I am open to suggestions and comments and everything. So that way, I would like to have your guys' feedbacks, no pro- feedback from what we're doing. And little Miss Onyx is on her way back over. She's severely thinking about it. But those are usually just 10-minute videos. The reason I'm not doing YouTube Shorts and Facebook Reels is those are like 30 seconds. Well, I'm sorry. I am not the kind of crafter that can do something in 30 seconds and consider it a good video. I can't do it. So we're going to move on and make YouTube videos out of it. Also, so watch for those to be popping up. I will have a whole little playlist just for those. So Crochet the Beginning will be one playlist, and then my Crafts with Me will be a whole another playlist. They will not intermingle. And so we're going to start doing that. And also my website, which is also down below, handmadebyhev.com, is also up and running. It is basically a blog format right now, but honestly, I am not doing a whole lot of posts. I will start setting up my posts weekly, at least to announce these. And you can also find links to all the YouTube videos in my website. Basically, if it doesn't have the little white tiger that you see on the beginning screen, the opening scene to the videos, it's not mine. But all those links will be down below, as always. But so this is what we've done this week. We have made a granny stripe pattern. I will have the link to the downloaded pattern in my description box down below. Download the pattern. It will be correct, I promise, before this video comes live. I apologize if I sound funny. I am recording upstairs, not downstairs in my studio. And so we have 2 weeks of this, and after 2 weeks, Jar should be back. Jar JR should be back at work. So Mondays I will be alone again, and so I can go downstairs and do my recording down there. So I apologize if this sounds funny. If you like it better, let me know and I'll move the headphones downstairs. But so if you have any comments, questions, or anything, you just want to pop by and say hi, my email is down below in the descriptions, or leave a comment on this video. And once again, have fun crocheting, and I will see you next week.